No music today. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network. This is the Not Safe for Work show, Not Safe for Work MMA show, to be specific. Maybe today we'll talk just about MMA. I guess we don't always. But today, I think we're just going to stay true to the MMA world. We are just getting right into it, baby. Again, the name of the show is the Not Safe for Work MMA show. What is about to happen is implied within the name, so don't complain.
Listen, this fucking show should be called the fucking Improv MMA show. People don't realize it. We just rolled out of bed about fucking 10 minutes ago. We haven't discussed nothing. There's no fucking outline. We come down here fucking cold and dry. We hit the go button and we fucking go. I mean, we know we're going to talk about 257, obviously, but we've got no fucking plan or outline for you guys at all. Jack.
I will say that is the one thing. I don't know if people quite realize that when we do this show, sometimes we talk a little bit. I mean, but it's very rare that we really talk about. We've been talking about other stuff this whole time. We've been talking about some business stuff, and we've talked for a few minutes, but nothing about MMA. I didn't talk to you last night about anything that happened.
Usually do that purposely.
Yeah. So when we sit down to record, we are talking for the first time about whatever it is, and I think a lot of podcasts you hear that's not necessarily what is going on.
Oh, not at all.
So I like that. I do. That is good. We
freestyle, baby. We really freestyle.
Let's go into it.
We don't have it written on the iPhone.
Meanwhile, everyone listening is going. You don't say that you guys freestyle.
Yeah. No wonder we don't know what the fuck you're talking about half the time.
You mean when you're wrong about every other thing that you say? You
fucking rant about random shit.
So, let's just get into it.
Let's fucking get right to it.
Do you just want to go into what everybody wants to hear about?
Well, fuck, you know what? Yes.
Or do you want to talk about other stuff and build up?
No. Let's talk about the motherfucking 80-ton elephant in the fucking room.
All right.
For fuck's sake.
So let's talk about Jessica I.
Let's never fucking talk about Jessica I ever again. I tell you what, she needs to move the fuck out of Ohio. That's what she needs to do. She puts a stain on our great state.
You hate Jessica I.
I don't know, man. She just rose me the wrong way.
Right. All right. Let's not peel the Band-Aid off all the way.
Okay.
Let's do a little peel.
Just a little bit.
Like, let's take off the nose strip. You know what I'm saying?
You listen.
Let's take off the nose strip.
You got to hold the control. I'll go fucking crazy.
I know you will. Let's take off the nose strip. Let's talk about Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker. This is a big thing.
All right. I see what you. I bet you eat a mean pussy, don't you, Kyle? You like to take your time, don't you?
I do.
I like to. I'll be fucking boy. I'd have been nailing that hoe by now. I'd have done ejaculated. All right, let's talk Michael Chandler. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about Michael Chandler because this is a fight that I actually called. And this is exactly how I thought this fight would go.
I'm going to be real honest with you. I did not realize that Michael Chandler swung as hard as he does. I don't know. Maybe it's just the angles of the Bellator camera. I don't know. But I just feel like I feel like it looked like he hit a lot harder yesterday than he normally does.
I don't know if I said this on LoudMouth recently. But this is exactly how I thought this would go for some reason. I know that fucking Dan Hooker's a tough guy, but for some reason, and not only did I think that Chandler was going to get the knockout, but I saw it going just like that. Big overhand right, big, tall, lanky, goofy fucker standing there upright, and boom, he gets clipped and down he goes. I mean, for some reason, this is exactly how I saw that fight playing out. Yes, of course, Dan Hooker could have got his knees going. He could have got his little Muay Thai and his little clinch game going. But I know that Michael Chandler's fast. He hits hard. And those short little stocky cocksuckers that throw big overhand rights, or lefts for that matter, end up being really hard to deal with for those tall, for the real tall, rangy, lanky guys. It seems like it's very rare that you find one that's very good at using that length, like a John Jones type character. Usually they're okay at using it, but they fucking tend to stand upright, and if a guy's short and got fast hands and hits hard like a Michael Chandler, I just thought from Jump Street that's a nightmare matchup for him. And as you see,
And Dan Hooker was using his length, pretty well in the beginning there, and obviously the leg kicks, which it's interesting that we talk about leg kicks so much because a lot of fighters still aren't using them to their fullest potential. So it feels like we're always talking about it and kind of giving credit for it when it's like all he's doing is just kick him in the fucking calf. But it's like, yeah, but a lot of fighters aren't using that as like a legitimate tool that it is, and it's huge. Look at the end of the. I about went into McGregor.
Yeah,
it's so hard not to
talk about it.
It's so hard not to talk about it. But in that fight with the leg kicks,
sure.
The
calf
role
kicks.
that those calf kicks wound up playing, and then once the fight is over, McGregor's barely walking.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's such a, for whatever reason, still and it's definitely changing. You can feel the tide starting to shift here, but it's just still such an underutilized thing.
Well, I mean, listen, I think, to be fair, not that I'm the X's and O's guys, but I think what keeps people really fucking honest with those leg kicks is a straight right hand. They're sort of easy to counter if you fight the right guy and you fucking throw a lazy leg kick or a slow leg kick or whatever. A real fast, straight right hand right down the pike will wake you right the fuck up. So I think that's a lot. It's just like anything else with striking. It's very nuanced. You have to sort of set it up with something else. If you're throwing those leg kicks blindly, unless you're prime Jose Aldo or, prime fucking Pedro Izzo, and you can just sort of fucking bomb them in there and people just flat can't stop it, usually a guy can time you right and fucking break your fucking nose if you're throwing a lazy leg kick.
But like in this instance, especially when you have a lot of length and reach on someone, like that is such a useful thing. And like even going into the McGregor-Poirier fight, Poirier's the taller guy.
Right.
I don't know if he was much longer, but he's probably a little bit, or at least similar.
Well,
but he's certainly taller, and he certainly angles a little better. I don't know about better, but you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah,
he can angle himself well enough to where he's not as concerned, especially with the kicks.
His legs are longer, I think.
Sure.
Conor has longer reach.
Conor might have a longer reach or similar reach, but Poirier definitely has longer legs.
Yeah, 2 inches longer in reach, Conor did.
Okay,
but
because he's 74, I think.
Yep, and because they were virtually identical.
Conor's built like a fucking gorilla. He's such a long reach for that size.
Yeah, I know. What the fuck? He's like fucking 5'8".
Yeah. But with Michael Chandler, this is, if you wanted to shut people up about being a kind of a hype machine or, getting away from kind of the stench of Bellator and how a lot of hardcore MMA fans will view Bellator. That's what you need to do. I mean, boy, that put an exclamation point.
Dan Hooker was the perfect opponent for him.
Yeah,
he really was.
Smart.
He really was. Dan Hooker's a notable guy that's got some big wins, but he was very beatable, and I think he was a good stylistic matchup for Chandler.
And then he cut the Chael Sonnen, Ric Flair-esque mic thing at the end. Call it cringy all you want.
Listen,
and I'm sure that's where you're going. And that's fine.
I didn't love it.
But I thought it was perfect. He did. That's exactly, again, that's what you need to do. It was rehearsed.
Pizza blank.
Yeah, it
beats a blank,
which is what happens more often than not anyway.
Right, I ain't mad at it. He isn't exactly the best at doing that. He's no fucking Chael P. But to your point,
I thought he did a good job. And it was rehearsed. He knew what he was doing, and I thought he did it well. Whether it's cringy or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it was cringy. It worked.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yes.
So I mean, he did. Yeah, I can't be. If he would have said nothing, I definitely would have came on here and been like, "What a wasted opportunity." I definitely fucking couldn't look at him throughout that whole thing. But good move for him for sure.
Or been soft spoken. Either you have to. I think you. With the winners of the main and co-main with Poirier and Chandler, I think those are the extremes that you need to exist in. You either need to exist kind of in the Chandler extreme, where you're just cutting a fucking promo. That's all that you're doing.
Right.
You've rehearsed this thing for when you win, and you're regurgitating it out. You practice the bad thing. You practice the fucking thing in the mirror, right? And you can tell, and you're just cutting a promo. Or you need to do what Poirier did, which is you're talking from the heart. You're taking this as a time to promote your charity and
your
to
hot sauce and your business and shit.
Right, and you're kind of using it for that. I think those are the extremes that you have to exist in. It's the kind of middle of the road thing where John Anik has to ask you, "Oh, well, what is it that you want next?" And you're like, "Well, I think fighting Habib would be great. I'd love that I think we match up well. Let's make it happen.
Right.
What the fuck? No one cares.
Right.
You have to exist, I think, in the two extremes.
Right.
To get people really interested in what you're doing. But Michael Chandler's promo is going to play a lot more than Poirier's. So at the end of the day, that is the angle to go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad at him. He did the right thing. Like I said, yeah, slightly cringy, but way better than saying nothing. So, I mean, to be fair, Michael Chandler had about as good a performance overall as you could possibly wish to have. He had a fantastic knockout. He did it quickly. He didn't take much damage in the process, and he shot his mouth off a little bit. He stayed well. Now, let me tell you something right now. All that being said, Khabib... God damn it, Kyle, we got to get the fucking soundboard. I need a soundboard, and I need George saying I am not impressed by his performance. Because I tell you what, there ain't a God in heaven if Khabib comes back and actually fights Michael Chandler. Now, maybe they line up Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier, and if Michael Chandler does that to Dustin Poirier and he does it to one other person, maybe then we can start talking about just because he knocked out Dan Hooker. If y'all think Khabib's coming back and fighting him, you're out of your fucking mind.
We do have a bit of a weird situation where, Dustin Poirier has already beaten Justin Gaethje and did so soundly.
Yeah, we're just hoping.
And that's who the number one contender is.
Well, I think he's going to fight Charles
Oliveira.
Yeah.
And they're saying that. So what do you think happens now? Do you think Poirier fights Chandler and Justin fights Oliveira, and that's how we determine who's fighting for the belt?
I think
what happens with McGregor in that case?
I think Justin fights Oliveira. And
all right, so let's go through again. Dustin Poirier beat Conor McGregor, and we will talk about that fight. We're not going to do a long episode today. We got to kind of keep it short, but we will talk about that fight for at least 15 minutes. But I want to go through some matchmaking before we get there.
Okay.
All right.
Lightweight division, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So right now, Michael Chandler has only had the one fight, and it was against the guy that was ranked 6th.
Sure.
So it's not like he deserves to fight for the belt. But we all know what Michael Chandler is. He's got a big name. He was a champion for quite a while over in Bellator.
Yep.
Had gone back and forth a little bit. He lost that weird fight against Brent Primus.
Right.
But wound up beating him.
Right.
Then he loses to Pitbull. Pitbull's probably the best guy that Bellator has.
Right.
So, it is what it is.
Right.
He has, those iconic fights with Eddie. He's got his last couple fights. One of them was against Benson Henderson, which is a little bizarre. And before that was Sidney Outlaw, which is real weird.
Yeah.
Bellator. But anyway, it's Bellator.
He's got the potential to beat anybody on any given night. He's one of those lightweights.
He's a very good wrestler, and he clearly hits hard.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
So anyway, I think he's just going to be he's just thrown into the mix because.
Right.
Just because. I'm not saying he deserves it. I'm not saying I want it or whatever. I don't really care.
Well, he's the hot new prospect from Bellator.
He's going to get thrown into the mix. It is what it is. So we're including Michael Chandler in that. You got Justin Gaethje, who fought Khabib and lost. Okay.
Right.
You got Dustin Poirier now, who just had a massive win over Conor McGregor.
Right.
And then you got Charles Oliveira, who's just been building up.
Yeah.
So I think those are the 4 names right now.
Pretty much, yeah.
Who is there anybody else that's in that conversation? I think Tony Ferguson's pretty much out of the conversation.
I mean, yeah, like I was saying, there's Tony, but for the most part, until he gets a W under his belt, he's sort of.
Do you put Tony against Conor?
I love that.
Is that probably the best
love
fight?
That. I love that. If Conor and Tony are down for that, and Conor seems like he's ready to get right back on the horse, I fucking love that fight. I love that fight.
Okay. I think that might be it. I think.
And then those are sort of the outliers.
And then you have Justin versus Oliveira, which is the more, I think, legitimate fight.
Yeah, right.
Because you have the guy who just lost against Khabib,
right,
who have been building up, and then you have Charles Oliveira, who's been just flying up, right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of the legitimate side.
For sure.
And then on the other side, you have the guy who has been building up, but beat Conor, so is now at an all-time high.
Right.
And then you have Michael Chandler, who has only beat the one guy, but because of his name, because of where he comes from, and because of the way he won as the co-main on that card, is just skyrocketing right now. So you kind of have the fight between two people who maybe don't necessarily deserve quote unquote to be fighting for the belt, but have earned it in other ways. And then on the other side, you have the guys that have kind of deserved to be there.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, have those two fights going on, and then Tony, who really needs to get a win, and Conor, who really needs to get a win.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Put those two guys up against each other, and that fight would be huge.
And it would still be an extremely fun fight.
Yes.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
I think Tony could win that at this point.
Absolutely.
I think now the air of Conor, I think what happened last night is that the mystique of Conor, I think, faded the rest away. I think
it faded a good deal.
I think it went away, but I think in a good way. I don't think it's in a bad way. I think people are going to really start coming around on Conor. First of all, he fought a really smart fight, like through the first round.
Sure.
He looked fantastic.
Right.
He landed some good shots.
Well,
at one point, he had Dustin kind of hurt.
To be fair, I thought he looked a little off in the beginning of the first round. Just a little bit. I thought he looked a little... His timing was... He got fucking socked. He caught a right hand real quick in one of those first couple exchanges.
Well, and then in the second round, he started throwing kind of some wild stuff. He looked like he was already gassed.
Well, I think... But the way I saw the fight, in the beginning of the fight, it felt like his timing wasn't exactly what it was. It even almost felt like Dustin looked a little faster than Conor. He was sort of beating him to the punch a little bit. And then towards the end of the first round, it looked like Conor started landing some shots. He started finding his groove. He actually kind of rocked Dustin a little bit with like one of those fucking forward, like upward leaning right jab.
He landed some good shoulders.
Yeah, he did. He did okay in that first round. He was landing some fucking decent strikes,
and he did all right for much of the second round as well. He just started kind of getting a little wild, and then it started going downhill.
Let's just talk about the fight. Let's talk about the combat. So. I'll tell you this, man. After watching this fight, and this is, I'm going to try to take my nut huggery aside here because there's, no matter what you want to say about Conor McGregor, he's, the biggest fighter that MMA's ever seen. He's the most popular fighter we've ever had in the sport. So you have to sort of talk about him in layers and levels.
Yeah.
As far as the fight goes, I thought it was obvious that he hasn't been very active. I'm not going to sit up here and say that he lost because of ring rust because I don't think that's true. But I do think that you can only get so many looks in the gym. I think that when Conor was performing at his absolute best, he was performing once every 2 or 3 months. When he was on that featherweight run, when he won that belt at lightweight, it was because he was super, super, super active. I think he's figuring out now the time. Look, who don't want to go make $100 million to box Floyd Mayweather? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, when you look back on Conor McGregor's career as a combat sports artist, I think that's going to have been detrimental to his MMA career because he just lost time that he never could get back. And then by the time he came back and fought fucking Cerrone, had been so much more time. And then, what are we, a year and a half later or something like that? Fucking before he gets, now I realize we had COVID and stuff, but he's been nowhere near active enough. I think it showed. His timing wasn't quite what it usually is.
When I like that he acknowledged it at the end, I think that was a good thing to do. I think he acknowledged the fact that, and he didn't say this, but I think in so many ways, he acknowledged the fact that his stardom has kept him from fighting as much as he wants to,
right? Because
of the airs that have to be put on in order for him to go out and fight.
Sure.
And then probably the amount of money he's making. I think it's really difficult for the UFC to let him fight too much. And I think he acknowledged that, you can't take this much time away all the time and still be at the top. You can do that when you're fighting Donald Cerrone. No offense to Cerrone, but you can do that against a guy like that. A guy like Poirier who's been consistent and continuing to get better and is not as war-torn as Donald Cerrone.
Right.
Yeah, you can't really do that against him.
But here's the truth of it all, too, man. I suppose at the end of the day, you just can't really do that in the UFC. You pulled it off with Cerrone, but you got to be careful. Cerrone could have came in motivated and fucked you up too. Listen, he could have landed a big shot and knocked out Dustin last night, and we would have been all on the train. But when you're in the UFC and you're fighting guys like that, you got to come in. And listen, here's the thing: I think Conor was extremely prepared. I think he's just not been active enough. It's just something that you can't mimic. It's not. I don't think this was no problem on him. And you're right. I totally respect how he has taken this loss. As a matter of fact, his attitude all week has been nothing but respectable.
Yeah.
Like Conor or hate Conor, you have to admit this year, or this week rather, he's been all class. I mean, the whole fucking way. He's been class to Cerrone. He apparently donated to his fucking foundation. I mean, Conor's done the right thing. Now, before we get off this, I would like to say this. I do think that Conor's an interesting person, right? I think that he's a very intelligent guy. I think that he has a wealth of knowledge on the fight game and how fighting works. I think he's a brilliant fight mind. But I don't think he has very good in-cage fight IQ.
Really?
I don't.
To me, when I watch him fight, he's very cerebral to me. Like, he's very aware of what's happening. Obviously he's great at counters. And
I sort of kind of thought that too, but as I'm watching the fight last night, something sort of struck me. Maybe he's not as cerebral or sort of... Look, that fight didn't have to end there, I don't think. I think it ended because Conor look, when Conor got sort of rocked and got pushed against the cage, I feel like I don't want to say panicked, but he started trying to sort of Muhammad Ali, Anderson Silva his way out of it. And I think, quite frankly, what he should have did was probably throw a push kick and run. Get your back off the cage and get the fuck out of there. He waited and sort of, I don't know, he sort of just kind of tried to roll with the punches and waited to get knocked out. What the fuck are you doing, Conor?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are, bro?
I thought he was
move. Get off the cage, bro. He's like.
Do you remember the Nate Diaz fight? Like,
yes.
Circle and run.
Right. It's like
circle and run.
And so afterwards, and listen, everybody knows this is coming from a Conor nut hugger. But after that happened, I thought like, Conor's not very smart at sort of, again, I feel like if Conor could have just, again, thrown like a teep kick and sort of jolted away and got back into open space and, maybe he doesn't get knocked out in that moment, but he sort of froze a little bit on the cage. And when you got a guy like Dustin finding his range, bro, move, get out of there. I would say shoot, but you can't out wrestle him. So don't shoot. Throw a fucking teep, some kind of, pushing kick of some kind, get him the fuck away from you, and then circle off that cage. Again, what am I? It's easy to say that from the outside.
And we also don't know where his state of mind was as he's up against that cage. We don't know if one of those hits kind of, loosey-gooseyed up the old brain.
I mean, listen, fair enough. But what we do know is I've seen Max Holloway in Look, Max Holloway didn't get knocked out by Dustin Poirier. He found himself in situations just like that where fucking Poirier's unloading on him. But I think that's I think Max does have a good fight IQ. I think Max knows what his chin can take, and when the shit gets too much of a storm, he backs the fuck up. He'll throw a whatever the fuck sort of strike just to get you back so that he can sort of breathe a little. He doesn't. I felt like Conor sort of waited to get knocked out. I mean, towards the end there, he wasn't even swinging back. He was sort of just leaning on the cage, waiting to eat a big shot. It's like, dude, either throw a kick, move, do something.
Don't trust your fucking chin that much, guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or your ability to just move your head around and avoid shots. It's like he sort of ate a couple big ones. And again, I get what you're saying. Maybe his fucking brains were rocked and he was just sort of like, girl, what's happening? Fucking getting creamed. But it's like, I don't know. I just sort of wonder sometimes, even going back to the Khabib fight, he got in that first little grappling exchange. Who do you think you are, Conor? You tried to jump right into the grappling exchange with Khabib. Like, yeah. I think maybe if he made smarter decisions, sometimes these fights would go a little different, man. And, maybe we should just go ahead and say it. Maybe he doesn't have that great of a chin. I mean, I don't mean to be the guy that comes in here and drags Conor like Conor took a loss and I've been the big Conor dick rider. But I don't want to be absurd either. Okay, I want to have a serious discussion about, look, Conor's been such an enigma. How good is he? How great is he? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're starting to get a real idea. He didn't just get out grappled. He got knocked out by Dustin Poirier. A very, very good boxer. Very, very talented boxer. But a boxer that he had knocked out himself 5 years ago. So I wanted to sort of come in here today and really not put the screws to Conor, but try to actually, give him some serious sort of honest criticism today. Like, what's happening here? I don't think that he's washed up. I don't think that he was necessarily overrated. But what I do find extremely compelling about this and Conor McGregor's career at this point is, what does he and what do we as fans do now? Can Conor McGregor go on to become a Chael Sonnen? that wins some, loses some, shoots his mouth off, and still fucking has a good career the rest of the way through?
Yep.
Or does he ultimately become a Ronda Rousey? Take one more fight, hypothetically get knocked out by Gaethje, and say, fuck the most of you as I'm heading to the WWE?
I think his next fight should be Tony Ferguson, and I think that he wins that fight.
Right, but what if he loses? I guess is what I'm saying. What do we think?
I think if he drops
soldiers on, or
if he drops 3 straight, I think he's. No, I guess it wouldn't be 3 straight. But if he drops
it would
3,
be 3 straight because
he beat Cowboy before.
Oh, after Habib.
Did he beat that? He beat him after Habib. Right?
Yeah. True.
So yeah, if he drops, he
beat fucking 1 and 3.
Yeah, I think if he drops another one, I guess. If he drops another one. Yeah, I would say he's probably done. I don't know if I think his psyche
keeps soldiering on.
I think his psyche's cool with this. I think he can put it into a box and go, I just haven't been active enough. If he gets back in there in 3 months and then loses again, I think it's like, well, now what's your excuse? You know what I mean?
Right. And to an even slightly lesser caliber opponent at this point, it's like, fuck.
I think, it's like, what's your excuse now? You know, like, you can only talk yourself out of this. But if he goes in there and beats Tony Ferguson, it's like, well, see, I told you.
We're sort of back.
Let me fight Poirier again.
Yeah,
now that I'm back in,
you know how,
let me fight him again.
You know how MMA is too, man. You're only as good as your last fight. So if he comes back,
which trilogy are you more interested in, Poirier or Nate Diaz?
Oh, Poirier at this point,
just because it's
more competitive. I feel
more competitive, more recent.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Nate Diaz trilogy, but Nate's another one. Listen, Nate's another guy that I think, career could have been a lot different if he had just fought. And to be fair, I think Nate's sort of heart and I don't give a fuck attitude fucked him a little bit. He was taking fights at 170 where it's like, do you got a manager? Why are you you could be a champion at 55 possibly. Why on earth are you taking fights against fucking Dong Young Kim and Rory McDonald when Rory was in his fucking prime at welterweight? Like, Nate, what the fuck you doing?
Well, then his last fight was Jorge Masvidal, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, again. There's nobody tougher, but it's like it's sort of a waste of a career and your talents, man. You could have been maybe a GOAT at 55. Slightly different than Conor just disappearing for fucking years at a time and not fighting nobody, boxing Floyd. I'm
still upset at RDA. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm still upset with RDA
because that whole thing just didn't play out.
I feel like. And at that moment, Conor was still fighting super often,
right?
And was super pumped. You know what I mean? He was just like,
right.
He was just absolutely on a tangent. I think you go from 45. I think he then beats RDA. I think he beats RDA easy back then. He beats RDA. I think he might even fucking defend a belt for God's sakes. And I think he then fights for the 170 belt. And I think whether it was Woodley or whether it was whoever, I think he could have absolutely won that fight. We might have just a whole different thing going on with Conor, but that RDA fight just sent him in such a bizarre direction.
Well,
and money-wise, it worked out, obviously, but it's like it just sent his career in such a weird direction.
It's the Floyd fight, too, though, I guess.
And the Floyd fight was real weird, because then he has to take all that time away.
Yeah, and then you went and boxed Floyd. You're not, that was the... It's the weirdest thing in combat sports. It's one of, if not literally top 2 biggest combat sports fights ever, all time, as far as numbers sell. So, I mean, you can't fucking blame Conor for taking that fucking fight at that time. But on the same fucking token, man, like, that cost him a good part of his career. Like, it just did. In hindsight now. Again, I'm not making no excuses for saying why he lost to Dustin Poirier last night. He just lost to the better man. But Lord knows what sort of fights he could have won or lost, or, what sort of legacy he would have right now in the meantime if he had just kept fucking fighting and not went and boxed and then stayed gone for a year. And, the fucking rape allegations and shit. It's hard to think about, like, what he would have done if he would have sort of kept it all on the fucking straight and narrow. But it is what it is.
But this,
right now.
Last night, he loses, and I'm like, and we're with a bunch of people here. Not a bunch of people because of COVID. So
it's like get crazy. You won't get fined.
There was only one person here, and they live here. But I was watching the fight with a bunch of ghosts, and they were talking to me as this fight ended. And they were like, do you think Conor's going to retire now? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so, but he's hanging around the cage.
He doesn't sound like
I'm pretty sure Dan Hooker retired. He took off his gloves, threw him in the cage, and walked out. So I don't know what the story is there. But, Conor's obviously, he's sticking around in the cage, and I was like, well, I'm sure they're going to talk to him, why it's Conor. And they're like, think he's going to retire? I'm like, I don't think so. And then they go over to Conor, and he starts talking. And by the end of what Conor said, I was like, this feels like a restart to me. He's talking about wanting to be more active. He's talking about wanting to get right back in there. He's acknowledging the fact that he hasn't fought as much as he wants to, and that's hurting him and whatever else. I'm like, this feels like a restart. Like, it feels like you might see Conor fight fucking 3 times this year. You know, like,
yeah.
And be able to win them all. Like,
maybe. And listen, he could probably get a little bit of that back. But I will say this, and listen, hot take time.
The people that hate Conor are never going to accept him, regardless.
Well, no, for sure. I think it's a very common narrative that everybody says the UFC was rooting for Conor. Dana was rooting for Conor. The UFC wanted Conor to win. They're promoting Conor. Everybody was making the comparison to when, like, Ronda Rousey fought fucking Amanda Nunes. You could tell they clearly wanted Ronda to win. Their cash cow, blah, blah, blah. Hot take time. I think Dana White was somewhere by himself, and when he seen Conor down, I think a part of Dana White went, fuck yeah.
Right.
Because what happened?
I need to bring it all down, baby.
That fucking Manny Pacquiao fight, out the window. Forget about it. You fucking shooting your mouth off and demanding millions of dollars, and I'm not going, out the window. Like, Conor's bargaining power took a big blow. Like, no matter how you cut because here's the thing, right? I love Conor. I wished he would have won because I think it would have made the whole sport overall more entertaining and interesting going forward. But the fact is, the sad fact is, as much as we love all the drama and all the horse shit, the reason Conor McGregor got so big and so popular was because he was winning fights.
He was winning fights.
He was calling them. He was doing it devastatingly. And now that that's not happening, sure, we're still intrigued, but some of that mojo has definitely worn off.
For sure.
He can't come in and be
the artifice has, like I said, and as we started talking about this, the artifice, I think, has faded away.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Now we have someone who hopefully people can look at and reasonably see him for what he is, who is a very talented fighter.
Sure.
Who has had a lot of fights, is getting relatively close to the end of his career.
Right. Starting to get a little long on the
Probably has a couple good fights left in him.
No doubt.
On any given day can beat any fighter.
Could even make a title run still.
Just like a guy like Chandler, just like a guy like Poirier, just like a guy like Gaethje, right? Guys who on any given day can beat anybody.
Right, no doubt. All those guys have losses and stuff. So
correct, right? I think, and I'm hoping that people. I think there was a lot of sympathy for McGregor last night, much more than I imagined. I mean, it was still 90% just posting gifs of him knocked out on the canvas.
God,
but I think there was a lot of sympathy.
It was nice
and understanding.
He was cool the whole week. I mean, you almost be a dick.
He's been nice for a while.
To be fair,
the Habib fight, I think, was a turning point in his and his persona. I watched that press conference again, by the way. I'd watched a clip of it, and I was like, I need to watch that whole thing again. I watched that whole Habib-Conor press conference with the whiskey and the guy that gets up. And I watched that whole thing. Conor's out of his fucking mind in that thing.
Yeah.
He is hammered, first of all.
Yeah.
He is coked out of his fucking mind. His pupils are the size of my fucking head.
Right.
I mean, he's
fucked.
He's fucked.
Yeah.
And I think that was a turning point for me because after that, and obviously going into the Cerrone fight, he was awesome. Mm-hmm. He wasn't shitty after the fight. He wasn't shitty before it.
It's true.
Like, he's been great. And then you have the fight last night, and leading up to it and after it, he's been fine. And if he'd have won, I don't think he would have gone on the mic and been like, "Fuck you, motherfucker." He wouldn't have done that.
I think he would have gave Habib a shot, but
sure,
not to Dustin or everybody else.
And his shot to Habib would have been dramatically different than his last ones, where he's calling him a fucking rat.
Right.
I don't think he would do that.
Right.
So I think we've already had a turning point persona-wise. I think we're now officially going to have a turning point fighter-wise. I think he's now going to fight more often, not be so demanding with other shit. I'm all in. I'm all in. I think I'm cool excited for Conor's future as we wrap this up. I'm excited for Conor's future. I think he's going to do an awesome job, and I think that he's going to. I think he's going to rebound in a big way. I think people are going to be very surprised.
Yeah.
I sound like Donald Trump. He's going to rebound in a big way. People are going to be surprised. It's going to be huge.
He's going to do big things. It'll be huge.
It's going to be huge. I think he's going to do great. And I think, I really hope they book Tony next. I think that fight makes so much sense.
Me too. I agree.
And I think he wins it. And then I hope they do a Poirier rematch. And I think there's a very real possibility he can win that.
Yeah.
So I agree. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of Conor McGregor.
You want to know what's really funny, and we'll wrap up.
I think he can turn some fans, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, some of the mystique is gone, and he'll never get it back, and that's why I sort of wanted him to win, because we could have kept that thing going. Some of that's gone, and it's just, it is what it is. Again, wrapping up, you know what's really interesting for me coming out of last night? You know who now, after all this, you know who I want to see more than anybody? Habib.
Right.
Now it's like, I need Habib to come back.
I know.
Because
I don't care who he fights. If you want to fight George, fine. I don't care. Can you come back and fight, though?
Yeah. At this point, it's like, okay, I thought, because I'm thinking maybe Conor does something impressive. Look, listen, I love Dustin. Dustin's not beating Habib. Gaethje's not beating Habib. I love DuBronx, but y'all can fucking pray to all the gods y'all want. That man at 55. I would love to see Habib come back, keep his 55-pound belt, maybe beat Chandler if he has to, and then I would love to see Habib come back and take a fight at welterweight while lightweight tries to figure itself out. But please don't leave, Habib. I think you're a fucking dirty rat too. I'm Team Conor, but in the interest of the sport and just how great it all is right now, Dustin proved last night that you definitely have no rivals at this weight division right now. So come back, man. After all this is said and done, ironically enough, the big Conor McGregor fan, you know what I want to see? I want to see Habib fight again now, man. I really, really want to see him come back. I don't know if I guess is who, but we need – who's at 55 now? You know what I mean? Say Chandler does win a couple fights and become champion. He's not my champion, man. I'm sorry. I hate to be that fucking. I hate to want to support Habib, but at this point, Habib can't leave us. God damn it! He's got to get back here and take his L to somebody. If he leaves, the lightweight division will be in peril for years behind this shit.
Real quick before we go, shout out to on Twitter Brando Calrissian. It cannot possibly be his name. At Museman82 on Twitter.
Oh, that's my man.
Yeah, shouts to him. He definitely he interacts with us quite a bit. Shout outs to him. He commented on your status, and he mentioned something that we have not talked about. We do not have much time, so I'm super, super sorry. But let me cover it for like 60 seconds. Last night, the shit show with the fucking pay-per-view. Holy fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I missed the first two fights.
Oh, yeah.
I better get my fucking money back, for real.
Oh, yeah. Let me
I'm glad I got to watch the rest of it. But this is what fucking happened.
Let me tell you something.
Stop. Okay. Dear politicians, dear promoters, dear whatever, stop pissing off hackers. I don't know what actually happened.
Right.
I think they're going to lie about it anyway.
Right.
But I'll tell you exactly what fucking happened. You went after streamers. A lot of the streamers are fucking hackers.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, you're going to catch us, are you?"
We'll just shut down your whole thing.
How are you going to? Good fucking luck.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If the fucking U.S. government and fucking Russian government and Chinese government can't fucking catch us, Dana White sure as fucking catches us.
Yeah, no shit.
So eat a giant dick. We're going to shut your whole fucking thing down.
No shit.
And that's what happened. Whether they admit that shit or not, I don't fucking know. But that's what happened.
I went to buy it. I was going to buy this event, the Conor card. Full disclosure, I don't give a fuck. Y'all suck my dick. I was probably going to stream the next one. I was going to buy this one though.
Check your card because you probably did buy it.
Well, no, I did eventually. I did eventually buy it. After the second fight, it let me buy it, and I still went ahead. To me too. I still went ahead and bought it just to be a fucking sport about this whole thing. But I tried to buy it for a minute, and I thought, you know what? Fuck you. You see what? I felt like a drug addict. I tried to be a good guy. Now watch this.
Yeah,
and guess what? The stream was still popping, DW, you fucking cocksucker. Yep. You're lucky I'm a good guy. And I thought, let me go ahead and a friend of mine who had paid for it.
I'm not going to say it.
She hit me up and she's like, yo, what's up with? Because everybody knows, I watched the fight. So she's like, hey, are you having a problem with your fight? And I'm like, yeah, bigger than shit. I can't.
So is a bunch of other people.
Exactly. She's like, I ordered it earlier and it's not popping up. And then she hit me back after the second fight. And she said, hey, it's working if you want to go ahead and try to order it. So I'm like, all right, I'll go ahead and order it because I didn't want them to fuck around. I wanted to make sure I could watch the Conor fight with no weird shitty stream and shit.
How pissed are you if you're fucking, Rodriguez or maybe
no
not,
shit.
Maybe not, but how pissed are you if you're in those first two fights? Like, you fucking kidding me? We finally get our fucking break,
and nobody sees it.
Nobody sees the fucking fights
except for the streamers. Ironically enough,
the streamers are the ones who could watch everything.
Let me tell you something. I didn't miss one fight. You know why? Because I went straight to the fucking streams afterward. DW, I tried not to. I tried to order your fucking product, and bigger than shit, I couldn't. You cocksuckers. And it was the most beautifully ironic thing in the world.
I know.
I literally tried to order it, and there were so many of us on MMA Twitter. Like I got
the shit got hacked. I don't care what they say. They can deny that shit to the blue in the fucking face. They got hacked.
My DMs were jumping from people on MMA Twitter. It was like, you know what? I never fucking ordered an event, and I thought this fucking time it's Conor. Dana's being a crybaby. Fucking COVID. I'll support the sport. And wouldn't you fucking know it? The one fucking time I try to buy it, I can't buy it, and they force me to the streams. Amazing.
Stop going after hackers, you fucking idiots. Stop doing it. They will fucking destroy the goddamn planet. Leave them alone, dude.
No shit.
Everything is fucking on some type of cloud or whatever. Well, these hackers will... Bro, listen, right now, if I went hard on some hacker who was hassling me, he would fucking shut the power off to my house.
Listen,
he'd fucking send the SWAT team here. Stop fucking with these people. Leave them alone.
There are three things you don't want to fuck with: hackers and streamers.
Yep.
Fucking prostitution.
Yep. The people who serve you food.
And drugs. Yeah. Right. These are the three things that you're just not going to stop. All jokes aside, they've been trying to stop drugs since forever. Clearly, they're not going to. Whores have been whoring since Jesus had a name. It's not going to stop. And since streaming became a thing, I went, real talk, all bullshit aside, I didn't stream for a long time, man, because I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go to jail or them to catch me or something. I didn't realize that it was so prevalent.
Dude, my shit.
There were tons of people who stream.
My shit's on my shit is it's on a VPN. I'm using private browsing.
Bro,
I'm like,
I don't even know what VPN is, but I know there's millions of people clicking this fucking link.
You can't fucking get it all.
What are you going to do? Charge me? I'll fucking take me to court? I'll go to court and be like, bro, I barely know what technology is. Somebody sent me this link. I clicked the link. I didn't fucking post. What are you going to charge me with?
And then they're like, then they pull up this podcast episode and they're like, yeah, about that.
Hyperbole.
There you go, baby.
Hyperbole.
There you go. We didn't illegally stream shit. We're just, this is a fictional show.
Yeah. What the fuck? This is all jokes. Every last bit of it.
All right, I got to fucking go.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here.
See you guys.
Later, guys.